Ridge Racer 5 is an arcade racing game that was developed and published by Namco for the PlayStation 2 back in the year 2000, and this is one of the earliest games to ever be released on the PlayStation 2 itself, and comes from a long lineage of iconic arcade racing games that were very popular both on the original PlayStation 1 console and in the arcades themselves during the mid to late 90s. And this game just carries on that heritage of the original games in the series. As going back to the early days of the PlayStation 1, you had the original Ridge Racer game, which was a port of the iconic arcade version. Then you had a console exclusive, it was released a few months later in '96 with Ridge Racer Revolution, and then later with Ridge Racer 1997, and then you had the iconic Ridge Racer Type 4 in 1999. So with the release of the PlayStation 2 console, Ridge Racer was used as pretty much one of the formats to really showcase what the PlayStation capabilities and features were all about, as at the time it provided excellent graphics and great unique arcade style gameplay. But the one thing that's relatable to Ridge Racer 5 is that it doesn't really move away from the aesthetics and the gameplay features that made the original games so iconic, as it keeps the same easy pick up and play style with very excellent and very easy to implement drift racing mechanics that focuses primarily on drift elements as you race. The game also does offer up a variation of 7 courses alongside of 15 different vehicles to unlock across different modes that are available, which there are 6 in total that you can play through in the game. Anything from like the campaign, the time trial, even with multiplayer, among other modes. And what's quite unique about Ridge Racer 5 is that the courses in question all correlate and relate to the original Ridge Racer track from the very first game, as there are elements and areas on each of the tracks as you're racing through you will be instantly recognizable and you will instantly remember from that of the original game, as some of the very iconic hairpin turns where you would remember drifting around them, even going through some of the tunnels and some of the offsets where when you play through different courses or when you play through different difficulties it would unlock a different variation or different area to explore on the track. This game allows you to access that with each of the tracks in question, so you get to explore more of what the gameplay has to offer from those original games. Plus it does add different variations to what wasn't available in the early games in terms of the variety of the tracks, as the tracks, even though they use similar areas to drive on, they're kind of multi-layered over each other. So you have tracks above on a highway and even underground, like under like lower street levels, that all kind of interlink and intertwine into each other, and you'll see that throughout the course of play, which is pretty cool. And you will get to unlock more of them and get to see more of those elements and visual styles as you progress through the game. But what's cool about this game as well is, like with Ridge Racer Type 4 and with Ridge Racer 5 also does offer up a lot of different vehicles that you can choose from, but does also give you the ability to upgrade the cars as you progress throughout the championships. You can unlock different engines and various different gameplay features and other elements that can enhance the power of the vehicles, even down to the aesthetics, like even with body kits and even like wheels. So there's a lot of visual elements that you can unlock. Plus you can alter the visual style of the cars, even down to like the paint styles and the graphic styles, to make the car unique to your own and to your own play style, which is pretty cool. So even with the modes in question, you do have access to other types of race modes, even like endurance races and even duel modes, where you can race like and challenge other types of like bosses that you have to beat. Again, these will allow you to unlock additional features within the game. Now it does offer up a unique challenge in terms of its difficulty when you're playing in these modes, but depending on your skill level you'll be able to utilize that to full effect to unlock all the features that the game has to offer. The game itself did get great reviews during its launch period, mainly due to the fact is that it kept to a very similar style of that of the original games and even the arcade elements that are involved. And the game itself was runner-up for Racing Game of the Year in 2000 by various magazines, only losing out to SSX, at that time. So with the gameplay that is on offer, it does have some very visually impressive graphics for its time, and considering this is one of the earliest games to ever be released on the PlayStation 2, this game really definitely gave you a preview of what was possible on the system. Even for a very early game, it showed how good it really was. And the cool thing with this game, like with the previous Ridge Racer games, it was easy to pick up and play, and it was fun to get involved with, and it was easy to master once you got a feel for the game. It felt very like the original Ridge Racer game itself, but just in a modern type of setting for the time. So that's the one thing they did get right with the game. Now, although it wouldn't be considered to be the best racer in the series, but it definitely has plenty of elements involved to keep you coming back to play for more. And if you haven't played Ridge Racer 5, you do need to experience this if you are a fan of the franchise. Even going back to myself personally, when I originally got my PlayStation 2, I had played a ton of games, but I didn't play Ridge Racer 5 for quite a long time. I remember one of my friends having it, and I played it a little bit in his house, but I never really allowed myself to get into it as such. It's only in later years, when I went to revisit it, I was able to see how good the game really is. Sometimes that does happen with games, that you may not understand it or take to it straight away at first, but then when you do revisit it, it just suddenly clicks, and then you realise how good the game actually is. And this game really is a good game, or it's an excellent game, and it's well worth the staple of being one of the earliest PlayStation 2 titles, and it's worthy of its mantle of being one of the best original games on the system at that time. So if you are into your racing games, you like arcade racing games, but even more so games that use drift racing elements, Ridge Racer 5 is definitely one of those games you have to check out. And I'd love to know your thoughts on this iconic game that was released for the PlayStation 2 back in the day, and if so, what are your thoughts of it? When you originally got a PlayStation 2, did you have Ridge Racer 5? Did you get it with your first experience on the PlayStation 2? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. So if you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more content around similar arcade style racing games, very similar to Ridge Racer 5 that were also released on the PS2, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be updated when future videos are released. And to see more of these games, be sure to check out the playlist below in the description and on the screen here to see more of these games in action. So be sure to go on over and check those games out, and I will see you all in the next one.